Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is the 27th of February 2025. These are the stories that we will try to understand and decipher during the course of our show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the 6th anniversary of Operation Swift Retort, which of course happened 6 years back and is still being remembered by many, especially across the border, as one where they understood the power of Pakistan's armed forces. Now, on this 27th of February this very year, Pakistan's Air Force had successfully thwarted a border violation by shooting down 2 Indian fighter jets. We all remember Abhinandan's case as well, in which of course he really admired the Pakistani tea, and that we have a visual for. Nevertheless, 6 years have gone by and the resolve of our armed forces and our Air Force to continue thwarting all enemy designs continues to foster unabated. This is what we are going to discuss in detail, including what happened that led to the Operation Swift Retort in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the latest situation as far as Gaza and the Middle East concerned, but most certainly Gaza. We all know that the first phase of the peace deal or the ceasefire agreement between Hamas and Israel is almost finishing or almost at its tail end, because the exchange of prisoners is happening between both the sides. This said, there is a lot of speculation whether this first phase is going to be extended by Israel or whether the second phase will begin at all. Nevertheless, the US's spokesperson does say that this is going to move as per schedule, but whether it will happen or not is another question altogether. To add to that, we all know the 48,000 plus casualties in Palestine, plus all the others that have also perished under the rubble. That could give an approximate amount of 60,000 plus, but according to the Lancet report, the real casualties are more than 180,000. This and more is going to be discussed today in our show, but of course let's begin with the Operation Swift Retort, the 6th anniversary of this very important operation that highlighted Pakistan's capabilities in the defense realm. We've been joined by 2 guests in the studio. Let me introduce them to you, not in the studio rather, in fact online. Let me introduce them to you one by one. Brigadier retired Masud Ahmed Khan Saab, defense analyst, and Air Commodore retired Basit Raza Abbasi Saab, senior analyst. Both have joined us online. Thank you very much to both of my guests to have joined us. I'll begin my question with Brigadier Masud. How significant is today, 6 years after Operation Swift Retort? How, in your point of view, today when you look back at 2019, did our Pakistan Air Force manage to pull off an adversary such as India?
Thank you very much, and certainly it is a historic day as far as Pakistan is concerned, where we saw the Pakistan Air Force demonstrated its capabilities, its professionalism, when they locked and they 6 targets inside illegal Jammu and Kashmir, and certainly those these targets were hit closer to these selected targets, 6 targets, and basic aim was to give them a message: we have the capability, we know where you are located, but we, at the same time they exercise restraint not to harm any casualty to the people, and at the same time to the damage to the properties. But the conclusion which we can draw is that this was the strong show of force as far as Pakistan is concerned, and certainly we exposed Indian so-called strategic edge, the superiority which they have been claiming in the past of when we talk of Air Force, Navy, or the ground forces. But Pakistan Air Force show was a show of strength, and Indian Air Force lost its credibility when in the encounter, when they lost 2 of their aircraft. One was MiG, the other was Su-30, and in the panic was such a high degree that they lost one of their Mi-17 helicopter by a friendly fire. So that was the panic. So Pakistan has shown its ability, and the message was very clear that Pakistan will not compromise as far as its territorial integrity and sovereignty is concerned, and whosoever tries to violate Pakistan's sovereignty, integrity, and responsibility like that. So Pakistan demonstrated the capabilities And it was certainly credit goes to the Pakistan Air Force for that excellent mission, this swift retort.
All right. Also, Brigadier Masud, Operation Bandar that was apparently launched by India on a target that was fictitious, that was never there on the ground on the night of the February 2019. The payload was, of course, dropped in mountains, killing some cows and trees. And Indian media went into a frenzy that they have killed X number of people, and this has happened and that has happened. Pakistan took to the foreign and domestic media, of course, to Balakot. I myself went to Balakot and did a whole show there as well and revealed this reality of these so-called surgical strikes. Where is the proof 6 years down the lane? There is no, reference from India from between 2019 to 2025 as to what really happened. They continue to stay by their word as far as this operation is concerned. Don't you feel enough has been said and the truth needs to prevail from the Indian side as well, or will they never say the truth?
Certainly they will never say, because it was a humiliation as far as the Indian Air Force is concerned, Indian leadership is concerned. So therefore they try to cover up these things. Even they try to cover up this by awarding one of the awards to Veer Chakra to our friend Abhinandan for his for his failures. But actual aim was to raise the morale of demoralize the Indian Armed Forces, mainly the Air Force, and especially when they removed and they sacked the Western Air Force, the Air Commander Ravi Kumar, Air Marshal Ravi Kumar, for his failures in both this, both the while the so-called attack on Balakot and subsequently the Pakistan Air Force downing their two aircrafts. So it was all basically orchestrated by the Indian Mr. Modi, the Indian army, then everybody was involved in orchestrating. Behind the scene, the actual aim was to get the political mileage, electoral mileage, because it was in February, so the elections were planned in April. So the hype was created, and to put the blame. Even the government of Pakistan at that time asked and demanded the Indian officials to give us actionable evidence. So they haven't provided any evidence. But no, it has been established by the evidences which has been provided by Satyapal Malik, the governor of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, who confirmed it was a false flag operation. Then there was another person, Prashant Bhushan, an author and an advocate, who said it was a false flag operation and Modi is going to stage another 2.0. And subsequently, there was a chat, WhatsApp chat leaked between the conversation. It was between the Arnab Goswami and one Das Gupta, and they were discussing this Pulwama. And subsequently, on 23rd February, and Arnab Goswami messaged him to Das Gupta that something big is going to happen. So basically, they were in picture of all this, whatever was being planned by the Indian Army and the intelligence agencies to bring back Modi as the Prime Minister of the country. So now it has been established. As far as another story as was then when they claimed they had shot down an F-16. So it was also negated by the international community. The foreign magazine carried an exclusive story, and they said that according to the official account carried out by the Americans, all the F-16 of Pakistan Air Force, they are intact. And similarly, TRT also carried a story, and they said Indian pilot was awarded for a feat that never happened. So this was basically everything was a cover-up story to cover up that humiliation caused by the Pakistan Air Force. So for us, it is a historic day. For Indians, it is a darkest day in the history of the Indian Air Force.
Before Operation Swift Retort and the Pulwama attack and subsequently pinpointing Pakistan and putting the blame game on Pakistan when Pakistan was not at all involved in it, and then the operation from the Indian side and of course Pakistan's reaction in the form of Operation Swift Retort. Do you feel Modi as a leader is time and again using these tactics to stake regional peace for political gains? How can he be made to understand that this is not the methodology to move forward with, because the reaction is going to be swift like in 2019?
And certainly we can expect anything from Modi. And as Prashant Bhushan, he said recently, even before these elections of a couple of months back, probably 4 or 5 months back, and he said he has the capability and he will create some situation across LOC, or he will go for a Pulwama 2.0 to get the votes. And he said basically they played over the dead bodies of those 46 initially, those were killed in Pulwama. So for political gains, Modi and his peers, they can go to any extent. So this has been established and proven by even their own think tanks.
That is so true. Brigadier Saab, I'd also like to understand. I'm sure the world knows and understands Modi very well, knows and understands what happened in February of 2019 and all around what went around Operation Swift Retort as well. I mean, will the world continue to ignore the Indian belligerence and this war-mongering attitude? Don't you feel there should be sufficient pressure tactics from the world in order to make India stop this kind of rhetoric? Because if it happened in 2019, if it could happen afterwards, it could also happen in 2026, 2025, who knows? But it is the basic attitude, this belligerent attitude, that needs to be stopped. Don't you feel that it is the world's responsibility?
That is a very unfortunate part of it. Unfortunately, we have seen because of national interests of the countries, they do ignore such like activities. And in the past, we have seen the Indian involvement in the transnational repression, where they were involved in killing Sikhs across the world, whether it was United Kingdom, Canada, elsewhere, in Pakistan also, then killing Kashmiris. So the Americans, they have the evidence as far as when there was plot was uncovered when they were trying to assassinate Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. So they have, but unfortunately, when they look at their interests, so India is basically acting as a policeman in the region to contain China. So that is very unfortunate part of this entire thing. But as far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan has conveyed it very categorically to the Indians and other countries in the region that we will not compromise as far as our sovereignty is concerned, our territorial integrity is concerned, irrespective of the country. They will get a massive response through several tries to violate this our sovereignty.
All right, Brigadier Masud Sahab, also, in this nuclear age where there are two nuclear powers side by side, and then creating conditionalities that could make the whole region unstable, makes the whole attitude coming from the Indian side extremely irresponsible. But to add to that is also the responsibility of the Indian media, whether it be 2019 or whether it be 2025. They have continued to put Pakistan in a deliberately bad light, which is based on, fallacies, and there is no proof whatsoever as far as denigrating Pakistan on any front possible, especially from the Indian media is concerned. Shouldn't also there be a responsible attitude from the Indian media, or should we stop expecting that from our not so friendly neighbor?
Let's not expect anything from the Indian media, when we say it is the Godi media, and they are in league with the Indian political leadership. And as far as look at the Arnab Goswami was in picture, he was aware of all the things which are happening beforehand. He was in. And most importantly, his team, Republic TV team, was there at the scene before it actually happened. So he was in the picture. And similarly, one of the messages he sent to Das Gupta, where he said something big is going to happen. This was on 23rd February, when 26 we saw the so-called attack. So Indian media is in league with the Indian political administration and RA. So basically, this is what they are doing, and we are seeing it, and on ground it is visible. So we don't expect all, and now it is the time, it is the era of fifth generation warfare. So, and recently they also created a hype, and they quoted a threat alert issued by the Pakistan Security Forces, which was never issued. But it was projected, and it was a hype was created that there is a threat to the Champions Trophy, which is being played inside Pakistan. So this is how things happen. This is how fifth generation warfare works. So in India and the social media, they play an important role. So therefore, we cannot rely, we cannot trust the Indian leadership as well as the Indian media.
Masood Saab, many unanswered questions remain between 2019 and now 2025. I'd like to go back a little back on them and like your point of view on that. Why was Adil Ahmed Dar arrested and released 6 times between 2016 and 2018? Did the unjust and harsh treatment of Adil Dar result in the Pulwama attack? Is it possible, how in your point of view is it possible that Pakistan is able to smuggle, as per the Indian reports, 350 kilograms of highly explosive material right under the noses of 800,000 Indian security personnel and across hundreds of kilometers? Also, how was India able to conclude Pakistani hand behind the attack within hours of the incident, while ignoring the numerous past arrests of Adil Dar and the statements of Adil's parents that he resorted to revenge after the torturous treatment by the BSF or CRPF? India has yet to give any evidence whatsoever in this regard. I'd like your comment on these topics.
First of all, as far as this explosive, that was about 350 kg, and General Huda was one of the former commander of Indian Northern Command. He said it is humanly not possible to transport 350 kg explosive from across LOC. So that was one thing. So it was not possible, and it has been accepted. And secondly, as far as Dar is concerned, Dar was in custody before he took this vehicle and then subsequently ran into one of the buses carrying the Russian Rifle soldiers, and then this Satyapal Malik is on record. He said why Dar was allowed to roam freely with 350 kg packed vehicle. He was not stopped by Indian security forces on the checkposts, and he was basically facilitated. So that's why it is called it was a false flag operation, because he was used and because he has the grievances previously, but he was subsequently used. Whenever the false flag is conceived, so there are many things are considered. So Dar was in this case was used, and Satyapal Malik has given this proof to the various media channels, and he was given a shut-up call by the then Prime Minister Modi next day not to comment on the incident in Pulwama.
All right, Brigadier Masud, also, what are the lessons learnt 6 years down the lane from the Operation Swift Retort, from on the Pakistani side and on the Indian side, in your point of view?
From Pakistani side, we demonstrated the professionalism, the training which imparted to our Air Force pilots, and their flexibility, their response, their faith in Allah Almighty, and the love for the country. That was demonstrated by them. And secondly, for India, it was basically it disgraced the Indian Air Force, and it was evident from the fact that the removal of a Western Air Commander and giving a fake gallantry award which was not dear to Abhinandan, and then celebrating this event annually. So these were the things, but they have not acknowledged. They understand the Pakistan Air Force is far superior as compared to Indian Air Force is concerned. And even today, with our JF-17 Thunder Block 3 aircraft, F-16, then we have J-10C, and they are still afraid of Pakistan, even without even having those Rafale aircraft. And now with the news of Pakistan getting J-35 aircraft in next 2 years and Pakistani pilots getting training. So this has created a lot of chaos, panic in the Indian Indian Air Force. So they are basically they have been offered F-35 by the Americans, and which is according to Indian Air Force official, it is a very costly aircraft, probably $80 to $140 million. And one flight of that F-35 costs about $36,000. So they have basically said this is something very not acceptable to Indians. Basically, the Americans, they are doing some business with the Indians. So today, if we carry out comparison between the two forces, not only the Pakistan Air Force is no doubt is superior, but our ground forces, our naval forces, they are far more better than the Indians. Since we say we are battle hardened, we are trained, so therefore we also every time we give the message India, the Indians to, so we can thwart your evil designs if you try to violate our territorial integrity and sovereignty.
Definitely, and I think the 27th of February 2019 is a very bright remembrance and will continue to remain that bright spot for India to remember whenever they try next time for any such design to enter Pakistani airspace and try to create havoc on the base of fallacies. And the fact also remains that if whenever they come the next time, I'm sure we will always be there for a warm cup of tea like we served Abhinandan. Thank you very much, Brigadier Masud Ahmed Khan Sahab, to have joined us. We have to go to a short break and then we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Our second story concerns the latest situation as far as Gaza is concerned. An exchange of prisoners is almost at its tail end as far as the first phase of ceasefire agreement between Hamas and Israel is concerned. But a lot of speculation continues as to whether this first phase will actually end. Will it be prolonged? Will the second phase actually begin? The US side says it is going to continue. President Trump has a bit of a different opinion to say. And of course, Israel, we all know what it wants actually, because it all is related to the political strength of Netanyahu. To discuss that and more, we've been joined in the studios by Dr. Amna Mahmood. She's a foreign affairs expert. Thank you very much, Dr. Amna, to have joined us. Dr. Amna,
my pleasure.
Hundreds of Palestinians who were held in Israeli jails arrived in Gaza. People were but their families, of course, saw them after a very, very long time. And also in the West Bank, there were a lot of people that came. Israel has also handed over its 97 Palestinian prisoners to Egypt. And the group is, of course, being exiled from Palestine. At the same time, with all of this exchange of prisoners and everything, there's a lot of questions, marks as far as the future of this very ceasefire deal is concerned. A, I'd like to understand whether you feel that the prisoner swap has been happening in a normal, regular manner. And B, now that it's almost at its tail end, what now?
Thank you, Omar, for inviting me as ever. Thank you. Actually, you know, the Palestine and Israel issue is very complex, and when this deal was finalized, the issue was that Israeli just wanted to have their prisoners back, and they want to continue the war, because Israel has lost everything in this war. Their international fame, their legitimacy as a separate state. They have been declared by International Court of Justice and all the media and public organizations of the world, and even the UNGA as an atrocity. You know, they have been declared as the illegitimate war they have waged on Palestinian. And then they have conquered almost the whole stripe of Gaza as well, and they have converted it into a rebel. So I think that they have earned everything and they have lost everything. What they wanted to earn, that they wanted to capture that land. They want to evacuate all the Palestinians. So they have achieved that goal. But at the same time, they have lost everything, their reputation, and they could not, you know, demoralize Palestinians. You know, there are strikes and children are playing. They are fetching the water in the same way. They are supporting each other. Their resilience as a nation is multi-fold, even at the time the war started. So I think that Israel want to have more fruits of this war, and they don't want to discontinue this war just to get their prisoners back. But at the same time, Mr. Trump is the guarantor, and he is taking another view. You have seen that he has launched another AI generated film. Yes, that what
and that has gone and that
Gaza.
has been shared so many times on his you know, social media platform as well, and that shows a very different, I mean, not a very different, but something that he had already been saying since some time, that he wants to convert this into a resort and he wants to make it the Riviera of the Middle East.
If you ever went to New York, if you go there, you see that it is the replica of the seashore of before Brooklyn Bridge. This is the same portrayal. But we should ask Mr. Trump that whether you are constructing it and handing over to the people of Gaza. If yes, then you are a democrat and humanistic person. And if not, then you are just a real estate person.
Because at least through this video, it showed a very different aspect of what Mr. Trump thinks should happen to Palestine, or maybe it is a reiteration of what he has been saying since a long time of what he wants the Gaza to be. Now, President Trump also says that it is up to Israel to choose to uphold the truce. He said, and you know, in all of this situation, when the first phase is about to end and Hamas says we need negotiations for the second phase to begin, and we are not going to, you know, give the rest of the prisoners back if the second phase does not begin. So, is there going to be a second phase? Is the first phase going to be prolonged? Because as per the ceasefire deal, there is a clause that says that you can prolong the first phase of the ceasefire deal. So, is this going to happen, or are there other intentions that the US and Israel have?
I think it is up to Mr. Netanyahu, because
right.
Netanyahu is more focused on the domestic politics, and he wants to have more gain, because he wanted to satisfy those who were demanding the return of their prisoners, their family members, and then he wanted to dilute the criticism of the more conservative part of the politics of Israel. And secondly, outside the Israel, he is focusing on Mr. Trump and American policy. And American policy is not clear. Mr. Trump gives something in lip service differently, and what American policy is the same as Mr. Biden was following, the support.
Is he trying to catering to both sections, maybe trying to please the Israeli side, but at the same time also trying to please the other side, maybe the Europeans or the Arab nations or the Middle East that wants this ceasefire deal to continue?
I think at this time, Muslim nations are reacting in a very positive way, and they are actually the reason to continue this truce, because they have made it clear that there would be no compromise on two-state solution, and there would be no evacuation of Palestinian from the Gaza. It means that they are standing right now on their 67 stand, 1967 stand. It means that that is one of the reasons. But on the other hand, you see that Mr. Trump says that there would be no war. But at what conditions? That if you go back to Oslo Accord in 1993, it was the same, that there would be no war, but at what cost? That major territory was given to Israel, and even in West Bank 300 pockets were created by Mr. Clinton. So American peace is at the cost of American values, and they are against Palestine, because American values are for only for Americans, not for the rest of the world. Americans and Israelis. He wants to stop war, obviously he wants to stop war, but at the cost of Palestinian. They should be sacrificed, they should be evacuated, they should be moved elsewhere, to Jordan, to Egypt or anywhere. And you see that he has handed over, Mr. Netanyahu handed over 76 prisoners. He has
to Egypt. But you know, at the same time, Dr. Amna, Egypt has rejected yesterday a proposal by the Israeli opposition leader that it takes over the administration of Gaza. So, what is eventually going to happen? On the one side, we see Trump and his portrayal of Gaza is the new Riviera of the Middle East, as per the AI video that has been shared multiple times on his social media platform and elsewhere as well. On the other hand, we have the neighboring countries that do not want to really take sole responsibility of the administration of Gaza. Then who is going to move forward and take part in the reconstruction of Gaza whenever it happens?
I think that rest of the world, Arab world, they want to have control of Gaza by the Gazans, by the Palestinians, and that's why they are refusing, that we are not going to take over. The second thing is, when they would take over, they would be part of the real estate business of Mr. Trump, which they cannot afford, because their own population is standing with Palestine, and they are standing with their population right at this point of time. So I think that that's why they don't want to. Another factor is that all this region is having a large demographic pressure of Palestinian. When they were moved to those countries, they were entertained, they were loved, they were respected there, and they became part of those countries. Okay, for sometimes they were given temporary asylums, temporary passports, but they have been part of that, and they were not evacuated from their place. If they would take Palestinian more refugees, their own population would be outnumbered. You know, Jordan is having a very small population, and Palestinian population in Jordan is quite
yes,
big.
it's a consequent number.
Yes, and in that way their independence would be compromised. They would be the second Palestine, and then Israel would attack on their territories in the name of targeting Palestinians. You know, that would be in the long term, that would be the repercussions they have to face.
All right.
So they are not going to take over Gaza, and in other way they would be they would earn bad name in the world as well, that they are part of Israeli plans. So I think that they want that a Palestinian should make their own authority, and that is actually under the all resolutions passed by the UN Security Council and Oslo Accord as well.
All right. On the 4th of March, there is going to be a summit of Arab leaders, where a lot of analysts say that a counter proposal is going to be put to US President, which would be very important for the future of the Gaza ceasefire. This is what a lot of analysts are saying. But of course, this conference is happening within, 4 days now. This could determine which analysts say whether Trump is going to push for a solution, a ceasefire solution, or will he push to a solution that gives Netanyahu the right to do whatever he wants. What are the expectations as far as this meeting of the Arab leaders is concerned? Do you feel that the resulted proposal that could come out, I mean, this is not a 100% show, but if it does come out, will it change the whole expectations around the future of the ceasefire deal and Palestine?
I think that their hopes should not be very high that they are dashed.
All right.
But I think that Mr. Trump would not be able to force any solution, because right now the whole Arab world is showing resentment to what Mr. Trump initially narrated about what he's going to do, and there would be solution which will be in the middle of the two, Trump's demands and Arab world's demand. And I think that everyone would be insisting on the ceasefire and stop of further blood loss in Palestine. And it is not only one-sided, it is for the Palestine, for Israelis as well. And it is also detrimental for the reputation of United States, because the people of United States are right now expecting that Mr. Trump, if he is able to make some change and bringing peace, he would be the hero of American nation. Secondly, there is a pressure from Russia and China as well. Chinese pressure is of different type and Russian pressure is of totally different type. And as Mr. Trump is dealing directly with Mr. Putin to stop the war in Ukraine, so I think Mr. Putin is in the position to assert his own opinion over the opinion of Mr. Trump as well.
Let's see, that is a very interesting aspect to it. I hope this manages to strike some kind of a chord within the US president, and that he also continues to be that mediator instead of allowing Netanyahu to do whatever he wants. At the same time, the US President Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff, who is a main envoy in the Middle East, while addressing an event for the American Jewish community, says that we are making a lot of progress when talking about this very ceasefire deal. He says Israel is sending a team right now as we speak. It's either going to be in Doha or in Cairo. I'm stating exactly what he said, where negotiations will begin again with the Egyptians and the Qataris. Hamas, on the other hand, says it is ready to release in one go all the prisoners that are remaining during the second phase, whenever the second phase starts. What do you foresee? On the one hand, we've got all this very strange situation in which you don't know what's going to happen. On the other hand, you've got Steve Witkoff who says this. Which side is the US really inclining towards?
I think, you know, that is the hype created by the US and Israel and all these Muslim countries. They want to bring that peace in, which was promised at the start of these negotiations. I cannot predict right now that what would be the outcome. You know, you see that Israel behaved very abruptly at the end of the time, and before signing a deal, they put some other conditions. But Hamas is not so simple this time. I don't think that they will release all the prisoners in single go.
All right.
Because, you know, they are having just a few now, but Israel is having thousands of prisoners, and they are being tortured, they have been treated, they have been starved and everything. Inhuman behavior was there. So I think that this is the time that Hamas would deal, that initially all prisoners would be exchanged.
Right.
Otherwise, there would be no deal, and that is why they are sitting in Qatar or Egypt.
All right, I understand. Thank you very much, Dr. Amna Mahmood, foreign affairs expert, to have come all the way to the studios and join us to discuss the latest as far as Gaza is concerned. I'm sure we all in Pakistan and elsewhere across the Muslim world want an end to this conflict, and for a peaceful resolution, and for the Palestinians to come back to their territories, and different countries of the world help rebuild Gaza for what it used to be, and maybe even in a better state. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news story segments that pertain to us. You in Pakistan, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.